26 July meeting test, mic test.
Good evening, councillors and members in the public gallery. I will officially open this evening's ordinary council meeting at 7 p.m. I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we are meeting, the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, and pay my respects to their elders, past, present and emerging. I'll move on to item 3, announcements from the presiding member. This evening will be our acting CEO's last council meeting with the City of Bayswater. I'd like to thank Cliff on behalf of Council for his 4-month service at the City and to wish him all the best for his new appointment at the City of Swan. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate that.
I'll now move on to item 4, attendance. This evening we have Councillor Clark in attendance via electronic means. In accordance with Regulation 14C 2CI, I have authorised the attendance of Councillor Clark by electronic means due to the increased level of COVID-19 in the community, this being consistent with Regulation 14C 2B. No apologies have been received and there are no leaves of absence this evening. All remaining councillors are present in the chamber. I'll move on to applications for leave of absence. Are there any councillors who would like to apply for a leave of absence? Councillor Clark.
Mayor, just to note that at the special council meeting I applied for a period of leave. I may not have made it into the agenda, but I just wanted to reiterate that for the minutes going forward. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Are there any other applications? Councillor Johnson.
Could I apply for Friday the 26th of August, please?
There's no others. I'll ask if there's a mover to accept. Councillor Peterson-Pick, seconded Councillor Palmer. I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Thank you. Now move on to item 5, disclosures of interest. Are there any councillors who have an interest to disclose? Councillor Johnson.
Oh. Sorry, I just left my mic on. My apologies.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Any interest? Councillor Bull.
Thank you. Item 10.5.1, Community Recreation Plan Final Draft. I am a Vice Patron of the Bayswater Morley Districts Cricket Club and I'm a member of the Bayswater Bowling and Recreation Club and the Bedford Bowling Club. It's an impartial interest and I'll stay in the room. 10.5.2, proposed temporary road closure, Cherry Court / Doyle Street, Morley. This is an application made by the Tonkin Gap Alliance. This project is on my back boundary. It's a proximity interest and I'll leave the room.
Thank you. Any other disclosures? Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Mayor. I had 2 disclosures. 10.3.1, Lightning Park Education Centre. It mentions the Minister for Lands, John Carey. I've know John Carey. I've hosted a homelessness forum with him before, so it's an impartiality interest. I'll stay in the room. And the other one was 10.5.1, which is the Community Recreation Plan Final Draft. I'm a member of the Bayswater Bowls Club, and I also generally attend the Bayswater Morley District Cricket Club annual dinner and pay my own costs. So those 2 are impartiality interests and I'll stay in the room.
Thank you. Councillor Johnson.
Thank you. Likewise on 10.5.1, I'm a social member of the Bayswater Bowls and Recreation Club, which is mentioned in the report. It's an impartiality interest and I'll stay in the room.
Thank you. Any other conflicts? No? I'll now move on to item 6, public question time. Members of the gallery, I'll first call for questions on items on this evening's agenda, and then I will open to questions on items not on the agenda. Please keep in mind that you are limited to 3 questions. So are there any questions on tonight's agenda? Please come forward. Ms. Bazidis?
Okay, Harry Bazidis, 21 Parkinson Street, Naranda. Madam Mayor, my question's in reference to page 21 of tonight's agenda, and it has to do with member connections, individual contact. I was wondering if council could consider including in the contact section the purpose of the connection or the meeting and the outcome. The reason is that they don't mean anything to me. I have no idea what interest these connections serve the City of Bayswater or the ratepayers. Is that a possibility?
Thank you for your question, and I'll go to the CEO for some advice.
Through the chair, thank you for the question. Could you just run through the first part of the question, please, Mr. Thurst?
Yes. I'd like to know if the purpose of the meeting can be included here, and also what the outcome of the meeting was. Because here we have examples of the mayor and the deputy mayor meeting different politicians, meeting different important VIPs, shall we call them, for want of a better word, in our community. But I have no idea what the purpose of the meeting was for or what the outcome of it was for. So this information is meaningless to people like me.
Mr. Bazidis, I'm actually happy to go through those now if you're talking about page 21. I'm happy to go through those.
Well, either that or my question is, in future, can that be included in there, or do I have to come up each meeting and ask this question so it makes sense to me?
Yeah, in future, if we're talking about this, we're happy to include that. Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Good. Okay. All right. That's all I really wanted to know.
Thank you. Are there any other questions in regards to items on this evening's agenda?
Oh, no, sorry.
If not, I'll now go on to items not on the agenda.
Harvey Tonkin, harveyt@ionet.net.au. In the budget, they mentioned a slip road being developed for $1 million. I just wondered where it was. Didn't say where it was.
Thank you for your question. I'll go to the Director.
Yeah, through the chair, that slip road is on the corner of Walter Road and Russell, and it's subject of a development application a number of years ago, a requirement for the developer.
Walter and Russell. Oh, the garage.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. It didn't say, that was all, and I just thought, and it says the $1 million is coming from someone else. Can they give me some, or? No, that's only kidding.
I'll take that. Thank you for your question. Any other questions?
Ian Walters, 124 Lawrence Street, Bedford. My first question relates to the East Metropolitan Regional Council. 2 years ago, I came here and was informed that the City of Belmont was retiring from the council. And for 2 years, I've asked questions: when is it going to be settled, and when are the accounts going to reflect the position? And may I ask you once again, because it's 2 years and about 2 months now.
Thank you for your question. I'll go to the Director.
Yeah, through the chair, the city's understanding is that that matter has still not been settled between the EMRC and the City of Belmont.
Have you any idea when it's going to be settled?
I'd have to check with the EMRC. I think the last time we spoke to them, they were hoping that it would be done imminently, but we haven't received any further updates.
Well, you promise me every time you're going to reply, but I've never had a reply, so I appreciate an indication. If not, I'll go and see him myself. Now, the next question relates to has the Auditor General signed off the financial statements for the year ended 2021? I'm absolutely staggered to think that you've held meetings without those figures being presented, and there's no reason being given why they weren't signed off.
Thank you for your question. I will go to the Director for a response, but I'll also add that this is something that we're very disappointed about as well as a council, that it's taken this long, and I have personally written letters to follow up, as has the CEO as well. So it's something that we're constantly following up, but I will go to the Director of Finance to respond.
Through the chair, thank you, Mr. Walters. I've been speaking with the Office of the Auditor General yesterday, and they are within a couple of weeks of completing their work. There's still a couple of things that they have to verify, but they assure me that they should have the 21 accounts finalised within the next few weeks.
And are you in a position to tell us what the problem is? Because most financial people, and I'm an accountant qualified and a few other things, that you qualify the accounts if you can't come to an agreement. There's no indication given what the problem is. And I'd be very interested to learn, because I've got something that the council did, and it's probably relative to that.
I'll go to the Director to respond.
Sorry?
I'll go to the Director to respond to that.
So through the chair, there's no major issues. They're just going through the process of verifying number of transactions and a couple of new accounting standards and the interpretation of those through our statements. We've received the management letter, and there's only a few items of that, which I received the management letter on Friday, so you'd be familiar with that, and that gives you an indication of how the audit is going to proceed, and there's no significant issues there.
Okay. Now, you had a meeting the other night on the budget, and you gave the public 4 days' notice. No historical figures that you can rely on as a variance. Very poor, astounding lack of professionalism. Thank you.
Thank you for your questions. Are there any other questions not on this evening's agenda?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Harry Bazidas, 21 Parkinson Street, Miranda. Madam Mayor, I'm referring to the special council meeting dated the 18th of July, more to do with the budget, with particular reference to the Maylands underground power. I would just like to get a little bit of information first, please, if you don't mind, before I ask my question. Can I be told who the stakeholders are, who are the financial contributors to any underground power project?
I'll go to the Director to respond.
Through the chair, generally it's the people that benefit from that underground power.
In particular, does the council, City of Bayswater, contribute out of its funds other than the loan facility? Does the City of Bayswater contribute out of its funds to the underground power project?
I'll go to the Director.
Through the chair, at this point in time, we're looking at borrowings to cover the contribution that the city needs to make towards the project. But there probably are some other smaller costs in terms of some project management and things like that that get covered by the city.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, I just need clarification on this. Years and years ago, when underground power was first introduced in Perth, they had a rough formula of state government paid about a third, local government paid about a third, and the landowner paid approximately a third, give or take. My query is, is the council going to pay a share of its rates money towards an underground project like Maylands?
Through the chair, in terms of how the project's funded, it's funded between Western Power and the city. The city will probably recover those costs from the people that benefit from that project. In terms of how that funding model works, there will be more work done and presented before the project's basically delivered and that work will be presented to the council and deliberated on.
So the city won't be out of pocket on this? Simply?
The city won't be.
It won't be out of pocket. Okay. I don't have any more questions then. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions not on this evening's agenda?
Just a question to follow on from that. There have been occasions in the few years I've been coming to this council meeting where the council's borrowed money for stakeholders. It can be a sporting club. They've defaulted. Will that type of thing apply to this? In other words, there'll be ratepayers out there who'll throw their arms up. I'm not paying anything. Sue me. Will we put a lien or a caveat against their title to get that money back?
Thank you.
Because it sort of relates to, is it going to cost the council?
Thank you for your question, Ms Tonkin. I'll go to the director.
Through the chair, thank you, Mr. Tonkin. So when the service charge is raised, it will be treated. So the service charge for the cost of underground power will be similar to that of a rate. So it will be.
Oh,
against the
rightio.
property.
So it's okay.
Yeah.
That's all right. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? So, councillors, the city has received one question in writing from Dr. Katie Thevos of Bassendean, which I'll now read out. With regard to my 3 questions at the Ordinary Council meeting 28 June 2022 concerning aqua aerobics classes at Bayswater Waves, I would like to thank the City of Bayswater for their responses. Pleasingly, the return of an effective and reliable instructor to Tuesday and Saturday classes and the purchase of sound equipment to resolve the audio issues has resulted in an improvement in the exercise experience. Regarding the reinstatement of the historical Wednesday night class, I was disappointed to hear that no action has been taken, considering I am not the only member who has provided the same feedback to the coordinator team leader to schedule the class. Could the City of Bayswater please confirm when the review of the aqua aerobics schedule will be undertaken? Response: resourcing issues have delayed the planned July review of the group fitness timetable. Consultation with patrons will commence in August, with any changes to the timetable expected to be implemented in September. This timetable will take into account the pool availability limitations related to the wave pool refurbishment and ongoing resourcing issues. So I'll now move on to item 7, confirmation of minutes. We will move to confirm the minutes of the Ordinary Council meeting on the 28th of June 2022 with the inclusion of the amendment contained at attachment 1 to Councillor's run sheet, but I'll also go to the CEO to provide some further comments regarding the amendment.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a slight change to what has been circulated.
Just if you could speak into the microphone, that would be great.
Sorry?
If you could speak into your microphone's pointing.
Sorry. Yeah, thank you. So just a slight change to what has been circulated as printed. So on the last few pages of the run sheet that are currently before you, they essentially reflect the correct position that Councillor Peterson-Pick moved an amendment rather than the motion as described on page 8. So you can see that's why all of that section has been deleted, and at the top of page 9 it shows that the amendment only was put by the councillor, which was lost. Secondly, the other amendment clearly shows that the motion be renumbered and a new point 2 added. So that was the amendment. So we would suggest that item 1A, B, C, D and E can be deleted because the motion was that it be renumbered rather than moving the whole motion, and that the amendment was as described in point 2. So it's really as simple as that.
I'll ask councillors if they have any questions first to make sure. No? You're happy with that? Yep. Okay.
Sorry, Mayor, I've got a couple of questions.
Yes, Councillor Clark.
The run sheet, so this is a new development that has only come in recently. Is this publicly available? I don't understand. I'm sort of trying to piece together documents here. It goes to my issue around having lots of different documents that aren't just all in one set of agenda papers for everyone to be able to access. So is this up on the website so that the public can see what we're talking about?
I'll go to the CEO, councillor. We're going to the governance manager. We'll ask the governance manager to respond to that.
Through the chair, the run sheet is a relatively new addition. What we're trying to do is show to the councillors what's going to be brought up on the agenda, including any alternate or amendment motions that have been received prior to the meeting. With the confirmation of the minutes, a councillor had raised during the week that one of the items in the minutes needed correction, so we're trying to show the councillors what the correction to the minutes will be prior to making those amendments to the minutes on the website. Once the council has confirmed that they're happy with the minutes, we will make that amendment. It's just so there's traceability of the changes to the minutes.
Sure, but I don't really understand why would that not just be as a separate cover item updated into the agenda? I just don't understand how the public's meant to follow what's going on. And then my second question is, I don't understand the 3 pages of track changes and red in this document. So could someone explain it to me again, please?
I'll go to the governance manager.
Through the chair. So the changes to the minutes were to reflect that Councillor Peterson-Pick had moved amendments to the substantive motion that had been moved by Councillor Ostaszewski, but when we had minuted it as a motion in its own right, which was not correct. So we're making a correction to the minutes. They haven't been confirmed by the council yet, so it's absolutely up to the council if you wish to make corrections to the minutes. But because the minutes had already been published on the website, we're just trying to make sure that there's traceability, that when we're making a change to the minutes after they've been put up on the website, that there's paperwork to support that. So this evening, the run sheet has been provided to the councillors to show what changes are being made to the minutes. We've tried to do that in tracked changes so that you can see what the changes are, but I acknowledge that it is a little bit confusing if you haven't seen it displayed that way before. The other thing we've done is we've provided a copy of the run sheet to those in the public gallery so that they can also see what changes are being made to the minutes. But the minutes at this point haven't actually been confirmed by the council. So once the council has confirmed the minutes with these amendments built in, we'll go and update the minutes on the website to make the confirmed minutes the correct minutes.
Sure, okay, so can I just clarify? So I'm just trying to follow it through. So page 7 of 9 crosses out what it starts as a motion in red and then rewrites it as an amendment. Is that correct?
I'll go to the governance manager.
Just the substance is completely different. So
through the chair, so perhaps if I start at the top of page 6. So what happened was the Councillor Johnson moved an alternate motion, which was essentially the the committee recommendation, including a new clause 6, which was to delete the policy, new trees, etc. And that motion was lost. The council then moved to the committee recommendation without any amendments, so just simply as it was in the report. That was moved by Councillor Ostaszewski. Once that motion had been moved, then Councillor Peterson-Pick moved 2 different amendments, which were debated and lost. So we're trying to show that Councillor Peterson-Pick didn't move the committee recommendation with an amendment built in. He just moved 2 separate amendments, which were dealt with by the council. And then when those 2 amendments were lost, the council then went back to the substantive motion, which was the motion moved by Councillor Ostaszewski. And
sorry to interrupt. So we're at the procedural motion on page.
Sorry, the procedural motion was just a
7 of
motion
9.
moved during debate.
Okay, and then after that, then Councillor Peterson-Pick's amendment was moved. Is
Yes,
that correct?
that's correct. There were 2 separate amendments moved, debated and voted on.
Okay, and then, but that was based on Councillor Peterson-Pick's amendment that was lost 3-6. Is that correct?
Through the chair, yes, the amendments were both lost. And then we went back to the substantive motion, which was the committee recommendation that Councillor Ostaszewski had moved and Councillor Everson had seconded.
All right. Okay, no, that makes sense to me now. Thank you. Can I ask that in future this all be made public and be incorporated into the agenda so that it's all in one document for people to be able to find it and sort it out? There must be a way under the standing orders that other councils can resolve this. It's in different documents, and there's a document that the public can't access that we're all now talking about.
I'll go to the CEO.
Perhaps through the chair, perhaps the best way we can progress is obviously there's more information being provided to councillors now than ever before in order to, in theory, make the meeting more smoothly run. But we will have a look at those suggestions for possible inclusion at the next meeting.
So I'll now move to ask if we have a mover to confirm the minutes of the ordinary council meeting on the 28th of June 2022 with the inclusion of the amendments contained in attachment 1 as just described by the governance manager. Do I have a mover? Councillor Eveson, do I have a seconder?
Can we get it up on the screen just to see what we're actually moving?
Councillors, have you all had an opportunity to read what's on the screen? I'll just check.
Sorry, Mayor. I can't actually see it, but I assume it's the.
I'll just get them. I'll just make sure they can. I'll just make sure that they can put that on the screen so you can see, Councillor Clark. They're just, Councillor Peterson-Pick's just speaking with a minute taker, just a moment. So just to the minute taker, Councillor Clark can't see what's on the screen. If we can just share that. Can I just get confirmation of when that's being shared with Councillor Clark? Councillor Clark, can you see that now?
Sorry, in terms of what that is, I can see a council resolution in the comments. Is that the wording that we're looking at? Or is it the full
Yes.
page 7 to 9 of the run sheet?
No, it's just the resolution that we're looking at.
Yes, thank you. I can see that. Thank you.
Okay. So if we can just put that back on the screen so that everyone can see it. So I'll just read it out for everyone. The minutes of the ordinary council meeting held on the 28th of June 2022, which have been distributed, be confirmed as a true and correct record with the minutes item 10.6.1.4 as amended in the run sheet tabled and agreed to at the ordinary council meeting of 26 July 2022. That's moved by Councillor Eveson. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Johnson. I'll put that to the I'll ask the mover if you'd like to speak to it. Would the seconder like to speak? Councillor Bull?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm not going to vote for this. While I appreciate the amendment that's been put forward in this run sheet, which reflects my recollection, what we have before us is a motion that says that a run sheet was tabled. There's no ability to table a run sheet under the standing orders, so that actually hasn't happened. And the second thing is, it doesn't actually say what the amendment is. So anyone reading these minutes won't actually know what changes have been made, because then they'll go to the minutes from the last meeting and they won't be in track changes. It'll just be clean. So there's not a clear, transparent stepping through of the changes that are being made. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is there is no ability under the standing orders to table a document in the way as being suggested here. So on that basis, I just can't support this.
Would anyone else like to speak to this?
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to speak against if possible.
Go ahead.
I'm going to vote against this. I wouldn't normally vote against minutes, but I find the process that we've adopted here quite unusual. There seems to be every month there's a new procedure that's been adopted with no sort of consultation or discussion. But an OCM run sheet, which only we can access and is not publicly available, I'd actually like all of them to be put up on the city's website so people can see what this new run sheet idea is. It doesn't fit within the standing orders. That's what an agenda's for. So the agenda, even if it is updated and has, separate cover items and addendums and corrections, should be in one place. It should be in one document, one PDF. I've raised issues before around when we sometimes get to a point where there's 8 to 10, I think on last count at one point there was 15 different documents on one meeting, where it should just be one agenda in one PDF, so that people can actually track what we're doing at each meeting. I think that would be better governance. So I look forward to perhaps as we go forward, particularly with the new CEO and people coming in and all the rest of it. That's great. We can actually streamline some of these processes. It should be really obvious what we're voting on, how it was minuted, and any amendments made. And I'm sure other councils have got procedures to do this as well, and it should comply with the standing orders quite strictly as well.
Thank you, Councillor. I'll just go to the CEO who'd like to make a comment.
Through the chair, I think what you have before you is a vast improvement on what has previously been tabled in respect of the process at which these matters have been tabled and subsequently discussed. However, moving on from there, in order to resolve this issue, I would suggest that all of the print that contains the amendments be adopted as forming part of the minutes of the meeting, which clearly shows all of the amendments and the process and how the amendment came to exist, with one exception, and that is the area that we talked about earlier, where on page 9 it says 1A to E is deleted.
Thank you.
But then that shows the whole process and how it is to be. So we would include that as the amendments be adopted, subject to the following changes being made.
Thank you. So I'd like to move the amendment. So I'll just ask the minute taker if they can put that on the screen. The amendment is described by the CEO, and I'll ask the mover and seconder if they're happy to accept that or whether they wish to debate it. Councillor Easton, do you accept the amendment? Councillor Johnson?
That's the amendment.
Sorry, Mayor, can I ask a question?
That's not what's on here now, is it?
They're just putting it up on the,
When
the
I see it,
screen.
yeah.
Yeah. So I'll just wait for that to get on the screen, Councillor Clark.
Sure, but while we're doing that, the CEO mentioned a phrase on page 9 that I don't seem to have written down on my version of page 9 of that run sheet. Is that, can I just clarify? Perhaps I've got the wrong version.
What phrase are you referring to?
It was the phrase along the lines of removing 1 to 5 or something, but that's not how my page 9 reads. I've got page 9 that starts with Councillor Catherine Earhart, Deputy Mayor withdrew from the meeting, Council resolution, committee recommendation, the vote was 6-3. Have I got the right document? There's no red on my version of page 9 as well, if that helps.
Sorry, Lorna. Sorry, Councillor Clark. I can't see what you're referring to on my.
Sorry, perhaps I misheard what the CEO said. So he made some comment about that some amendments, can't remember the numbering now, would be removed. But I can send you. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be difficult. I'm just making sure I've got the right document that I'm referring to and that we're voting on. So I can send a screenshot of what my page 9 looks like. I just want to check there wasn't an updated version that's in the chamber that I don't have.
Can I speak?
I'll just go to the CEO.
Councillor, again, through the chair, we're talking about that part of the motion that reads that Council 1 endorses the draft urban trees policy as contained in attachment 5 with the following amendments as shown in new attachment 6, and then it's numbered A, B, C, D and E.
No, sorry, that's not on the version I've got. I've got
page 8. Page 8.
Sorry?
No,
Sorry,
no.
who's speaking? I can't see who's speaking.
No, go ahead, Councillor Clark.
Sorry, someone yelled out page 8. I don't know who was saying that. The
there's a suggestion that it may be on your page 8, not your page 9.
Sorry, what?
Yeah, no, that's exactly the same. There's only one been taken out.
Can we just clarify what we're voting on?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's got to that point. Yeah.
I think we all have different page numbers because on mine it's actually page 9, but I have a different. So what I'm going to do is move a procedural motion. I'm going to put a procedural motion to defer the confirmation of the minutes until the next meeting, until this can be clarified and everyone gets a clean copy. So do I have a seconder? Councillor Sutherland. I will put this straight to the vote. All those in favour? That is Councillor Maleka, Councillor Ostaszowski, Councillor Palmer, Councillor Eason, Councillor Sutherland, Deputy Mayor, Councillor Bull, Councillor Johnson and myself. All those against is Councillor Peterson-Pick and Councillor Clark. That's been adopted. So I'll now move on to the confirmation of minutes for the special council meeting held on the 18th of July 2022, moved by Councillor Sutherland, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. Would you like to speak to it? Deputy Mayor? Anyone else like to speak to this? I'll put that to the vote. Oh, sorry, Councillor Clark, yes?
Sorry, just to clarify that on those minutes it should, I'm not sure of the exact timing, but notionally I think it should include the leave that I applied for.
The minutes of the special council meeting?
Yes, sorry, I'm just trying to pull it up now.
Councillor Clark, I believe it's on page 7.
Right, so but then it's not in this agenda, is that correct? You applied for it at the meeting of the 18th of July, so it's minuted in that minutes. Right, okay, so it's on page 7 and 8 of those minutes, but it just hasn't made it into the July agenda, is that
Because
correct?
it's a different meeting.
Yes, but it's this meeting's after me having applied for the leave. I just want to ensure that it follows through in the documentation, but anyway.
I'll just get the CEO to clarify why it's not on approved leave of absences on this agenda. Is that what you're talking about, 4.2 of this agenda?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, I'll just go to the CEO for clarification for you.
Oh, right, this agenda.
So Councillor Clark, I'll just respond to that. This agenda was produced prior to the special council meeting on the 18th of July. And it doesn't affect the minutes of the 18th of July.
Sure, okay, but normally wouldn't there be an addendum to correct this sort of stuff in a subsequent meeting? Again, I just want to make sure that it all flows through in the paperwork.
It's minuted in the July meeting.
Yes, I understand that. I can see that now, but I'm querying why it would then not be updated in the 26th of July after the 18th of July meeting.
I'll go to the governance manager for a response to that.
Through the chair, We don't normally reissue an agenda once it's been published on the website, so the agenda went out prior to the agenda briefing, I think on Friday the 15th or Thursday the 14th of July. The special council meeting was held on the 18th of July, where the leave of absence was confirmed by the council. It's now open to the council in the confirmation of the minutes to confirm the meeting minutes from the special council meeting. It's also open to council to consider those at the next meeting if it would prefer.
Thank you.
Sorry, so Mayor, as I say, I'm not trying to be difficult here. Can I just ask then, perhaps for the minutes of this meeting of the 26th of July, that section 4.2, that leave be added in there, please? I'm conscious I'm not going to be at the subsequent meeting, so I can't. I mean, I can check on the website, but I can't raise it in the next meeting.
I believe that your leave will be included under the approved leave of absence table on the agendas going forward.
Yes, but I'm also, that's what I'm asking for, to make sure it's recorded, because it's not recorded in this agenda.
It will be recorded in the next agenda.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So I'll go to the mover to close. Anything? No, I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Thank you. I'll now move on to item 8, presentations. Petitions. Do any councillors have a petition to table? No? There are no presentations this evening, and deputations were heard at last week's agenda briefing forum. Now move on to delegates' reports. This evening we have one delegate report from myself, Councillor Earhart, Deputy Mayor, and Mr Cliff Ruing, CEO. I'll move that report. Do I have a seconder? Deputy Mayor? I have nothing to add. Deputy Mayor, would you like to speak to it? Would anyone like to speak? If not, I'll put that straight to the vote. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Thank you. Now move on to item 9, method of dealing with agenda business. Pulling first this evening will be Councillor Maleka.
Thank you. I'd like to pull agenda item 10.4.2. Thank you.
Councillor Ostrzowski.
Nothing, thank you.
Councillor Palmer.
Thank you. 10.3.1. And that's it. Thank you.
Councillor Eason. Councillor Sutherland.
10.5.1, the Community Recreation Plan final draft.
Deputy Mayor. Councillor Peterson-Pick. Councillor Ball.
Thanks. 10.3.2, 10.3.3 and 14.1.1.
Councillor Clark.
Mayor, I just wanted to also speak to and ask some questions about 14.1.1. Councillor Ball's pulled it, so that's fine.
Councillor Johnson. Sorry, Councillor Ball, do you mind?
Sorry.
Councillor Johnson? No? Okay. So thank you, councillors. We'll first consider the item that was subject of a deputation, which is item 10.3.1, and that was pulled by Councillor Palmer. Would you like to move the officer's recommendation?
Yes, thank you very much.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Sutherland? Councillor Palmer?
Just very quickly to say that congratulations to the Friends of Lightning Swamp. They have worked so diligently, constantly, for many, many years to try and produce an education centre. This is one small step. They've continued through, and I'm hoping that this item will be accepted by everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Sutherland.
Yeah, I'd like to echo those congratulations too. I'd like to commend especially John Williams and the Friends of Lightning Swamp, Bushland, including the late Tony Green, I'd just like to add there, and congratulate for their tireless efforts in getting a permanent education facility up. I like the report, it was thorough, and it's good that some consultation was done with educational groups. It would have been good, but obviously this is a voluntary group, to see more consultation with the education department, but that might come as things, as time progresses, and maybe getting a bit more funding from them. It's good that the government gave them $50,000 to get kick-started, but I think this is an important function for the local community and for the kids in the area. I use the education centre at Herdsman Lake quite a bit, and I'm always jealous. It would be great if we had something like that in Naranda. I'd also encourage the group to ask commercial activities later on down the track when they want to grow. You know, commercial outfits like Bunnings for some funds once more money is needed. I know connection to sewerage might be a problem, and I hope that the group does reach out to other commercial enterprises to get more money. All in all, I think it's going to be a great addition to the area. I know as a teacher, sustainability is one of the cornerstones to the national curriculum, and this will be hopefully widely used from primary schools and to some of the local secondary schools. I know we took our school down to Eric Singleton just before the holidays, and we used that, you know, that was great. The kids loved it, and I'm sure they're going to love this one too. So well done, guys.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor?
If I may, with the leave of the mover and the seconder, I'd just like to propose a small amendment as requested by the deputy last week. And that being that in Lim 1, removal of the term education centre and replacing it with use of a nature-based learning space.
I'll just ask the mover and seconder if they accept that amendment.
Sorry, I fully understand the connection there. I am just aware that nature base is very important to the Lightning Swamp area, and also the Indigenous side as well is very important. So I'm hoping that the, you know, if the seconder agrees that if that's what the Friends of Lightning Swamp have studied and connected together, I'm happy to go along with that. And this is something that as we proceed and as proposals get progressive, we can change again. But I think in this instance, if that's what he seeks, I'm happy to go with it.
Yeah, I'll check with the seconder. Are you happy with that amendment?
Yeah, the name's I'm not sure why you wanted such name, but I'm happy to do that if it gets it across the line. It's going to be used for educational purposes, whether it's nature or whatever. So, yeah, do it.
Okay, so that now forms part of the substantive, and I'll ask the minute taker if they could please amend that wording as part of the substantive motion. So where it says education centre, if you could change that to use of a nature-based. I'll just check with the Deputy Mayor. Deputy Mayor, can you confirm that for the minute taker? Yep. So that now has gone from education centre to a nature-based learning space. Okay, would anyone like to speak against this? Councillor Ball?
I have a question. What is the difference between an education centre and a... It's gone. It's not on the screen. Whatever the new language was.
So
nature, play, or whatever it was.
So perhaps that question would have been better addressed to the deputy last week when he asked for that change to be made. I don't think anyone here is going to be able to answer that. You would like to answer that, Councillor Palmer?
Yes, just very, you know, sort of briefly. Each time I've been there with John Septimus Rowe or the various not just planting days, but the learning days that we've had with Belinda Cox and other folk, it has been actually nature-based. All of the Indigenous people that have been there, it's all to do with the plants and the joining of Lightning Swamp together with the learning. So I can understand that in that simple, brief way. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you to Councillor Palmer for answering my question.
Would anyone like to speak against? Anyone for? If not, I'll go to the mover to close.
Yeah, I'll just close very quickly. The Indigenous learning and history in Lightning Swamp is very learned. It takes the elders to do a film that we have in the city of Bayswater regarding Elder Barry Maguire. We've had most of the elders down there and their families giving wonderful talks on the various plants, trees, walkways, the Christmas tree, which is very special to them for spiritual reasons and so forth. Therefore, that nature-based learning, I can understand it fully now, and I'm glad that that was brought up by Deputy Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll put this to the vote. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Thank you. The next item that's been pulled is 10.3.2, Tender Number 6, 2022, Supply and Delivery of Irrigation Pipes and Fittings by Councillor Ball. Are you moving the officer's recommendation?
I have a question in response to some of the questions from last week.
Yes.
Thank you. I just would like to better understand on page 88 what the conflicts of interest are that are referred to in the paragraph just above risk assessment.
I'll go to the director.
Through the chair, I believe what the statement is saying is that there is no conflicts of interest. I did check with the officers, and that's what they've told me.
So a follow-up question, if there's no conflicts of interest, I really would like to understand why this particular language that doesn't accurately describe the situation in terms of interest, why this language that suggests that there is a conflict of interest was chosen.
I'll go to the director.
Through the chair, what I can say is that next time there's a report presented of this nature, we'll make sure it's worded the correct way.
I'll move the officer's recommendation.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Palmer? Councillor Bull?
Thank you. A number of years ago when I was on council, I was pushing for a requirement for a tenderer to make a statement of conflicts of interest as part of the tender. That's now become standard, and I think it's an excellent practice. Equally, it's important that we all in the City of Bayswater and Council manage our conflicts of interest, and they're disclosed in the ordinary course. I think it's really, really important that language is accurate, and I appreciate the comment of the director. The reality of it is there is now a statement in the agenda that will later be the minutes that suggests that there is a conflict of interest. I think it's utterly important that we've zeroed this out, but forevermore there will be a record that says that there is a conflict of interest. I am going to support this for the obvious reasons, but I just really want to clearly make the point of the importance of language, particularly around conflicts.
Thank you. Councillor Palmer? Sorry, just your microphone.
Thank you very much. Yes, that's fine. Thank you.
Would anyone like to speak against? Anyone for? If not, I'll put that straight to the vote. All those in favour? That is unanimous. We'll now move to item 10.3.3, EMRC Council meeting minutes 23.
Madam Mayor, I do apologise. I missed one of the items that I wished to speak on, which was the proposed Morley train station.
Okay, no problem. We'll get to that
Thank you.
after this one. So we're at item 10.3.3, EMRC Council meeting minutes 23 June 2022. That's been pulled by Councillor Bull. Moving the officer's recommendation. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Ostaszewski, Councillor Bull.
Thank you. I should have asked these last week, but it didn't occur to me. Firstly, to our EMRC members, a question. Are they able to provide an update on FOGO tender?
I'll see if any of the EMRC members wish to answer that question.
I wasn't at
Councillor
the
Sutherland?
last meeting, so.
Thank you. We arranged for a briefing session for all councillors to attend to get an update from the EMRC Chief Executive Officer, and it was good to have council members there to listen to the update from the CEO, and he went through a heap of the activities that are currently happening at the EMRC, and one of them was regarding the FOGO. And I've taken some notes, and I can only go from what I've got here on my notes. It is suggested that FOGO will be rolled out to all member councils by 2024, and that we are selling the product through Woolworths at the moment, and through Bunnings as well, and through Kmart, and the market has accepted the materials that the EMRC is producing favourably. So that's the update I can give on that.
Thanks for that. That was really good. I'm also interested in understanding where the tender is for the new plant, but that's all fine. And just following on from the public question time, does any of the EMRC members have any line of sight on the timing to get a resolution on the exit of Belmont and the bottom line implications for the EMRC?
Do any of the members have anything to add other than what the director stated at public question time? The CEO would like to respond.
Through the chair, the agreement between the regional council and the member councils contain a clause to the effect that when a council gives notice to withdraw from the regional council, it must do so before the 31st of December in a given year, and then the regional council is required to finalise the transaction within 18 months of that notice. In other words, by the 30th of June, 2 years hence. So we haven't got to that point yet, I presume. So it would be June 23. The City of Bayswater would be paid out by the regional council.
Thank you for that. Appreciate the responses, and the rest is self-explanatory.
Would the seconder like to speak? Would anyone like to speak against? Anyone for? If not, I'll put that straight to the vote. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Thank you. So we're now on to item 10.4.1, proposed Morley train station, pulled by Councillor Palmer. Are you moving the officer's recommendation?
Yes, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Ostaszewski. Councillor Palmer?
Thank you. Just very briefly, I thank the representatives that attended last week to give us the latest information on the Morley train station and thereabouts, and also to their honesty and clarity in the failures of the connections for commuters to walk to the station and the difficulty. And this is raised on page 151, and it's also raised on page 147, showing the lack of pedestrian access easily to that station. I thank also the officers who have put so many good amendments, obviously templated and brought forward, but it's still good to see there. And also, as chair of the Reconciliation Action, it's good to see that the Nana Biddy station, which will be Aboriginal artwork contributions, and that has been a great success throughout the various local governments in the Nala Biddy preparation for that. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Ostaszewski.
Thank you. The train station, the design of the train station, I think looks great. I'm excited about this train station going in at that location. Actually, I would have preferred it in Morley in the activity centre, but anyway, it's going to be great for the area. And I just wanted to say that I have expressed through this whole process with all of the people that we have met when we've been talking about this station that I do have a couple of concerns. Councillor Palmer mentioned about pedestrian access. I've mentioned about the kiss and ride location not being in a suitable, I don't think it's in a suitable location, and I think it should be up on Broome Ave to make it easy for people to access the station. And I've also expressed concerns regarding traffic management in the area, and especially what is going to be happening at the intersection of Cherry, Doyle and Broome. So I just want to get that onto the public record. Other than that, it's good to see some investment in the area.
Thank you. Would anyone like to speak against? Councillor Clark?
Not necessarily to speak against, so if someone wanted to go before me, but just to speak to the item.
Go ahead.
I wanted to thank the officers for including the conditions that they did, because I think they reflect a number of the issues that have been raised, particularly around the accessibility in terms of walking. I've still got concerns in terms of the trees. It's good to see that we're still adopting the 5:1 ratio approach of trees cut down that we started off with in the Bayswater train station. As Councillor Ostaszewski said, I agree. I think it should have been located closer to the Galleria, but now we need to actually make sure as a council that there are some really strong connections from the train station into where the Galleria and the Morley bus station is. It would have been good to also see that our design review panel has a look at this as well, and I'm looking forward to hopefully them improving their Green Star rating as well. Around that, there's obviously a way to go on some of this, but all of the report covers off on all of the things that I think we need to keep working on as a council to improve this.
Thank you. Anyone speaking for? Anyone against? If not, I'll go to the mover to close.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I totally agree with Councillor Clark on the Green Star rating, and I'm pleased to say that one of their amendments has been that they are going to be higher than the Green Star rating as possessed. So that's a really good thing. And also because of the pedestrian situation, which also Councillor Ostaszewski has made us aware as well. I remember when the Hanson Primary School development took place with the Tonkin, and there was no proper crossing for the schools, but they persisted with Metronet and Tonkin Gap and everybody, and they got the roundabout underground with, you know, skylights and everything. So things can improve on the pedestrian side if we keep at it. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll now put it to the vote. All those in favour? That is Councillor Maleka, Councillor Ostaszewski, Councillor Palmer, Councillor Eason, Councillor Sutherland, Deputy Mayor, Councillor Bull, Councillor Clark, Councillor Johnson and myself. All those against? Councillor Peterson-Pick. That is adopted. We now move to item 10.4.2, event application, Circus at Broome Park, 180 Broome Avenue, Embleton. This has been pulled by Councillor Maleka. Are you moving the officer's recommendation?
I did send through an alternate, so I think we've got some new wording.
Just get the minute taker to put that on the screen.
Yep.
I'll just confirm with Councillor Maleka that that's the correct
Yes,
wording.
correct. So Lim 5 to change 5,000 bond to 10,000, but also to change 270 as the daily rate to 360.
So in that same limb, limb 5?
In the same limb, yes.
I'll just get the minute taker to update that second figure. So limb 5, 270 to 360. So just to the minute taker, just limb 5, if we can change $270 to 360. Councillor Maleka, can you just confirm the two figures have been updated and the additional sentence?
Yes, that's correct. Thank you.
So this is seconded by Councillor Palmer. Councillor Maleka?
Thank you. Yes, so the reason for my change was, looking at the figures that we were given last in the report. 7 years ago, when we approved a circus, we did ask for a $10,000 bond back then. And although it was deemed that $5,000 was sufficient back then, as we know over time, costs have increased. So I believe that it would be beneficial to increase our bond to $10,000 as a safeguard. Should there be any reason to repair or if there's any damages, we don't want to be left with a shortfall. And the same with the daily rate, increasing it to $360 to align it with the costs that have increased over this time. And also, whilst the location of Broome Park may not be an ideal location for the circus in question, the city has offered an alternative which is Broome Park. It has been used before and officers have learnt from that when drafting the conditions. This financial year, we've reduced the number of city-led community activations to save costs. And so welcoming community-led activations like the circus is a way that we can still engage our community and people of all ages within our district without the financial burden. Furthermore, we're showing support for an industry that has been decimated over the last few years to get back working and making a living. It's not forever, it's a temporary event. It's just for 17 days. The circus hasn't been in town for 7 years, so let's welcome it to the town. And I think we should be supporting this application.
Thank you. Councillor Palmer?
Very well put from Councillor.
Sorry.
Sorry, Catherine.
Very well put by Councillor Maleka. I have no words to add. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor, speaking.
No, I just want a point of clarification, if I may, where it says background. The last time Council resolved to approve a circus was Joseph Ashton in 2015. The last circus that we actually had at the park there was Circus Royale in 2017.
Would anyone like to speak against? Councillor Bull?
I'd just like to propose an amendment, please.
Being?
So at the end of the final sentence in limb 6, it says, so if the minute taker's ready, after the word event, it says, along with provision of 2 free tickets to each resident on Broadway between Priestley Street and Kingston Street, comma, and on Kingston Street, full stop.
Just make sure the minute taker's got that wording, and then I'll ask if the mover and seconder accept that amendment. Councillor Palmer? You have a question regarding the amendment?
In Broome Avenue? Just that part of Broome Avenue opposite the circus?
So I'll just get the wording up on the screen first and make sure Councillor Clark can see it.
I can see that. Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, it should say each residence. Yeah. All provision. Yeah, as in each dwelling, basically. Yeah, household. Each household is better than residence. Yep. Thank you.
So we're just waiting on that one word to change from residence to household. That's correct? No, it still says residence. I thought it had to be changed to household. So I'll just ask the mover and the seconder if they accept that amendment.
Sure.
And the seconder? Yep. So that now forms part of the substantive motion. And that has been updated to household. Okay, so what we have on the screen is now correct. Would you like to speak to it?
Well, briefly, I'd like to thank the mover and the seconder for accepting the proposed amendment. So this is about a little bit more compensation for people who are going to be directly impacted. And I understand Councillor Palmer's additional concern, but the side streets are the ones where cars are likely to park and where more people are going to be, and the actual structure will be close to these streets. So they're the ones who are going to be affected. And, Councillor Maleka makes a good point that the performance industries have been absolutely battered. And so having this kind of thing come into the area, I think, is really important. I think it's also important to remember that the local residents don't benefit in any upside with this. I'm not saying that they should. It is a private organisation, and we need to support the arts. But I also, make the point that these residents are going to have to live with this day in and day out without any benefit to them.
Thank you. Would anyone like to speak against? Anyone for? I have a question to the Director, if I may. Just in terms of LIM 5, the highlighted wording that says subject to new fees being struck and local public notice given in accordance with section 6.9 of the Local Government Act. Can I just get clarification? If that was to proceed where new fees are being struck and local public notice, is that across all our fees and charges for any event that this would fall under would then have these new fees and charges, or is it specifically for this one circus event?
So through the chair, so section 6.19 of the Act talks about new fees imposed after the fees and charges have been approved through the budget process. So because this fee is particular for the circus, it would be a new fee just for that for the circus. So we would have to advertise it. So other events that fell under the original fee would not change. So it's a specific, would be a specific fee that we'd have to advertise.
Okay, so not everyone's going to have a $10,000 bond.
Just
Okay,
specific.
thank you. Would anyone else like to speak? Deputy Mayor?
So can I just get clarification on the advertising of the bond, because it does say in here that currently there is no bond listed in the city's fees and charges.
I'll go to the director.
So through the chair, so the bond was adopted at the special council meeting on the 18th of July as part of the fees and charges. So yeah. So
Would anyone else like to speak on this? If not, I'll go the mover to close.
I think all's been said, but thank you, Councillor Bull, for your addition. I think it's really worthwhile to consider our residents in the area. So let's hope we can support this. Thanks.
I'll put this to the vote. All those in favour? That is Councillor Maleka, Councillor Palmer, Councillor Eason, Councillor Sutherland, Deputy Mayor, Councillor Peterson-Pick, Councillor Bull, Councillor Clark, Councillor Johnson and myself. All those against? Councillor Ostaszewski. That is adopted. So we'll now move to item 10.5.1, Community Recreation Plan Final Draft. This has been pulled by Councillor Sutherland. Would you like to move the officer's recommendation?
Yes, I would.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Eason, Councillor Sutherland.
Okay, well, I just thought this is a big plan, and I thought it should be recognised publicly. I obviously am supporting this, and firstly I'd like to thank the officers for what I thought was a comprehensive report. It's quite mind-blowing, really, when you think about, when you read it and think about all the sports and recreation facilities we have in the city. 2 rec centres, 1 aquatic centre, and maintain 188 parks and ovals. It's great to see so many different sports, over 200 clubs and groups. So obviously we do need a comprehensive plan. So that was a great thing. Just some points that I've picked up on and I sort of wanted to share. I'm sure everybody's really can't wait to hear what I've got to say about this. But I'd just like to talk about the ageing infrastructure. We are an old council, an inner city council, and we do have some issues to do with that, and it was great to see that was picked up on. And we need to look at our assets to keep them up to date and also relevant to the changing community needs. The other thing that I like to look at is co-locality. Well, that's not mentioned a lot, I don't think, in the report. It might be, but I just want to make mention when I go to the outer suburbs, especially around the coast, you see one piece of big infrastructure for several sports clubs. It's really good because it's intergenerational groups that use it. So if you're playing bowls or tennis, you see different age groups and using that club all at the one time. I also think it's really important to make that the report made comment on lifestyle changes. We know that there is a growing demand for our parks and more particularly individual sports like personal trainers. We know they've made headway in our parks in Bayswater and they make the parks even more popular, and we need to be aware of that. Participation rate is also important, especially for all the different age groups we have here. And it's great to see we have so many young people playing organised sports, especially when we have more infill people living in smaller dwellings, so they need well-maintained parks and rec facilities to play in the future. While we're on that, I would like to see more courts on parks. There was some people did talk about that in the report, and I've said this twice, I think, in this forum, and I'll say it again. One day it might get through. It's not us, but I do think it's sad when we've, and in this day and age, that schools have been closed off and we can't use their rec facilities. So near where I live, even though the school's on the other side of the roads, technically in Stirling, They used to have the basketball courts open for the kids, and then they locked them up, and then the kids had nowhere to play, so we had to enlarge our basketball court on the park. So they're just things that we should really be thinking about in the future years. I look at the with envy at John Forrest's brand new tennis courts and basketball surfaces and think, oh, it would be great if we could use those as well. So I'm going off the tangent a bit, but I just wanted to say there's the sort of things we need to think about maybe in future years, because we don't have huge amounts of money, and where we can share things, I think that would be great. And finally, I'd like to see more done personally down Maylands Peninsula somewhere, where you have got a beautiful area down there with the river, and we've got infrastructure, bowling club, the tennis club, Maylands Tennis Club, which I did see they made a submission, and it would be great to see something there in the future. But I think it's a good report and a good start, and starts the conversation. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Eason.
Yes, please. So, look, I applaud the effort of not only the city officers, well done, but also the community members in the lengthy but worthy process in development of this community recreation plan. We have a far better understanding of the recreation in all its forms that happen within our city, what it is, where it happens, and what we can do better to promote it. Not just a typical formal recreation people think of, weekend sport and the like. This considers informal, formal and passive recreation in all forms. My only concern with this plan is one that I've had for many years here. Living here, our facilities are aged and with many well beyond expected life, and we need to seriously consider the way we manage facilities and the budget that's attached to them in the future. Already I've been approached to table some petitions requesting assistance to address actions contained within this plan and provide certainty for many in our community that this isn't just another plan that's going to get on the shelf and collect some dust. Another list of actions that won't be delivered. So for those that have made contact, rest assured, I've had meaningful conversations with the city about the step needed to move from ageing assets into a structured program of renewal and better asset management. The key to this is collaboration, a strong bond between the city and stakeholder groups, but even more so the relationships between these clubs. As a responsible and unified community, we need to foster co-location opportunities, linking summer and winter activities and layering that with services and facilities that the community needs. Yes, the formation of vibrant community hubs, that's what I'm talking about. The outcome of this collaboration and relationships being a vital input for the long-term financial plan, which we know will be reviewed very shortly. Delivery of this community recreation plan is timely for that process. With budget deliberations fresh in my mind, I look forward to the robust discussions ahead of us to debate the well overdue long-term financial plan as we move to better support our growing community and better plan for the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone like to speak against? Anyone for? If not, I just have a few comments. Just thank the officers for their work on this. I know that they're really passionate about this, and this has taken a lot of time to put together and a lot of effort. So thank you very much. I think it's good, but I have said this before, and I'll say it again. Whenever we do these plans, my only concern is the number of engagement. I see 196 participants in the first phase and 10 in the second. So I really put a call out to people in our community, anyone who's impacted by this, please get more involved. Please take a few minutes of your day to engage and participate in these processes, because we have 69,000 residents or so in the city of Bayswater, and I'd love to see more than 196 people engage on such an important topic which impacts everyone across the city. And that's all I'll add on that. So I'll put this straight to the vote then. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Thank you. Now move to item 10.5.2, which Councillor Bull has a proximity interest, so you'll be leaving. It's the proposed temporary road closure, Cherry Court, Doyle Street, Morley. Would anyone like to move this item? Councillor Palmer, seconded Councillor Sutherland. Councillor Palmer, Councillor Sutherland. Would anyone like to speak against? Councillor Sazowski.
It's not to speak against, but I'd just like to make a point. The dates in here are all very much from before today's date, and it seems that the contractors involved in this process don't quite know what the process is in terms of getting the appropriate approvals in place to do these types of closures. So I'm disappointed that the proper process was not taken by the contractor. However, the job does need to get done.
Thank you. Would anyone like to speak for? Anyone against? If not, I'll go the mover to close.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I do respect what Councillor Ostaszewski has said, and basically, the commitment of time, workers, staff, materials, everything this year has gone into this slow-mo. So I respect what you say on that for sure, and I think we just go ahead and do it. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll put this to the vote. All those in favour? That is Councillor Maletka, Councillor Palmer, Councillor Eason, Councillor Sutherland, Deputy Mayor, Councillor Peterson-Pick, Councillor Clark, myself and Councillor Ostaszewski. All those against? Councillor Johnson. That is carried. Can we please get Councillor Bull back? Councillor Bull, the officer's recommendation was carried on that item. So that is all the items that have been pulled under section 10. I'll now move to adopt the remaining items on block. Do I have a mover? Deputy Mayor, do I have a seconder? Councillor Maletka. Put that to the vote. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Thank you. We'll now move on to notices of motion. Item 11.1, which is my notice of motion for the City of Bayswater Community Art Awards Local Whadjuk Acquisition Prize. Do I have a seconder? Councillor.
Mayor, sorry to interrupt. Can I just clarify that 14.1.1 wasn't included in that on block?
That's correct. We haven't got to that section yet.
Sorry, thank you.
So seconded by Councillor Maletka. So, councillors, as you would be aware, the city owns an art collection which has been gathered over many, many years with a number of works obtained via the city's annual art awards. When I became mayor, I asked to see the catalogue of works, and I was disappointed to see that the city has a very limited number of Aboriginal art. In fact, across the Civic Centre, there was only one piece on display, with a second piece on display at the Rise. This lack of representation of Aboriginal art is not a true reflection of who we are as a city, and I believe that the inclusion of a specific category for Aboriginal art as part of our annual art awards is the first step in addressing this gap. I think it's really important we support the creation of works produced by local Aboriginal artists and give more opportunities for people to share the unique stories of WA's First Nations people. This new category will help to encourage the visibility, expression and preservation of traditional and contemporary Aboriginal cultures, communities and identities in line with our Innovate Reconciliation Action Plan and Cultural Plan. I can confirm that both myself and Councillor Palmer, as Chair of the Reconciliation Action Committee, have spoken with Auntie May, who has given her support for this idea, and I hope councillors will also support this. Councillor Maletka.
Could I just ask a question first to the officers? With the judging, the categories of the judging, is the judging panel the same for all of those categories, or are they different for the different categories?
I'll go to the Manager of Community Development.
Through the chair, from my understanding, there are 2 panel members and they judge every category.
Thank you. So I would like to note somewhere perhaps that we include a First Nations person to be on the judging panel as well. So, yeah, just to put that on the record, I guess.
Thank you. Would anyone like to speak against? Anyone for? Councillor Palmer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm just wondering also where we have, in my reading, I've got First Nations on one of the bullet points. I'm wondering if that could be changed to Whadjuk Noongar people, which is basically what the Reconciliation Action people have actually promoted, the Whadjuk people as the original custodians of the land. So I'm saying if we change that First Nations to Whadjuk Noongar people.
So you're referring to the last dot point?
The last bullet point, yes.
I'll just seek some advice from the Manager of Community Development in terms of swapping the language.
Through the chair, that's appropriate and acceptable by our local Whadjuk representatives on our reconciliation advisory group.
Thank you. And I'll just seek some advice from the CEO in regards to amending a notice of motion. Is that considered a minor amendment?
This one is, yes.
Okay, so I'll accept that amendment.
Thank you very much.
And I'll just check with the seconder. Yeah, so if we could get the minute taker to update that. So instead of First Nations on the last bullet point. So that's now been updated on the screen. And I'll take this opportunity to read it out because I didn't do that at the beginning. So it now reads that Council requests the Chief Executive Officer to include a new category for the City of Bayswater Community Arts Awards, Local Whadjuk Acquisition Award, with the name to be confirmed through engagement with local Aboriginal elders. The new category seeks to encourage the visibility, expression and preservation of traditional and contemporary Aboriginal cultures, communities and identities through the arts, support the creation of significant works produced by local Aboriginal artists, enable opportunities for local Aboriginal artists, artworks and communities, and showcase the unique stories of Western Australia's Whadjuk Noongar peoples as part of the City of Bayswater Community Arts Awards. Would anyone like to speak against? Anyone for? Councillor Palmer? Or just your mic.
Thank you very much. I commend you on this art award. It's something that was needed, and as we can see in our art throughout the City of Bayswater, it is certainly lacking in this day and age where we have some very good committees that are promoting good Indigenous culture, and yet it's sorely missed throughout our city. I thank you for that, and also to say that we were just coincidentally looking at Clawton Reserve to see the scar trees with the elders, and this came up, so we were obviously this had been brought up before with the mayor, Madam Mayor had created this beforehand. So it was just a good coincidence that we were down in a beautiful river area opposite a scar tree when this discussion took place. So it was very much a happening, and I'm very pleased to have been there. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone like to speak against? Anyone for? If not, I'll put that straight to the vote. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Thank you, councillors. So we'll now move to item 12, questions from members without notice. Are there any questions? Deputy Mayor?
Thank you. I've just got a couple of questions. 3 weeks ago, I had the opportunity to speak with Minister Carey in relation to the local government reform packages and his confirming that he wants to see as many of these initiatives go through as possible by 2023. So prefacing that, I just want to know what the city's plans are in terms of bringing a ward review or any of that. I know that we last conducted one in 2020. So my questions, and I'm pleased to take this all on notice. I don't expect an answer tonight, and in fact, I'd prefer it written down. I want to know what the cost is of doing a ward review again. Do we have to do a new ward review, given that there's been a census data in between when we last did a ward review? How much does it cost to do a ward review? And what timelines will we be looking at to get this through for 2023?
So just before that's answered, I just need to declare an interest on this. It's a financial interest. I'm the chair of the Local Government Advisory Board who advises the Minister on ward and boundary reviews. I would not be able to be involved in any of that, so I'm just going to duck out while this... I know it could only be for a sec, but I just want to do the right thing. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll go to the director to see if they can answer any of those questions now or if they'll take it on notice. Okay, we'll take it on notice. So I'm happy to call Councillor Bull back into the room. Are there any other questions without notice, councillors? No. I'll move on to item 13, new business of an urgent nature. Are there any items of new business that are urgent? No. We'll now move on to item 14, confidential items. We have one confidential item this evening. Can I please have a mover and seconder to go behind closed doors? Moved by Councillor Palmer, seconded by Councillor Maleka. I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? That is Councillor Maleka, Councillor Palmer, Councillor Eason, Councillor Bull, Councillor Clark, Councillor Johnson and myself. All those against, Councillor Ostaszowski, Councillor Sutherland, Deputy Mayor and Councillor Peterson-Pick. Can we please close the doors? Thank you. Just confirm the live stream has been stopped. Is that on? Yep. So thanks, councillors. I'll close the meeting at 9:32. Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor. Thanks, everyone.
Enjoy your leave, Lorna.